Hi, everyone. Welcome to our first sitting learning session for the weekend. Um, I would like to start with a poll, and I want to be adaptable in how we're going to run this thing based on where people are at. So there's three themes that we can go through, and I can try to squeeze all three of them, which probably won't be best, or I can focus on one or two. One is how many of you know exactly what you want and you're going for it, but you need some help getting there?
Well, exactly what
Okay. How many of you are actually in the time in your life where you try to figure out what the heck you want to do next, what's meaningful, who are you, and how to turn that into a good goal for yourself? Okay. And how many of you are going through a time where it's like, I'm freaking tired, I've been running on 60 cylinders, I need rest and reset, I need to recharge my batteries, and I need to give to myself so I can create what's next?
Yes.
So we're like 3-3-3. Ha 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 ha. Okay. I'll try to do more. Whoever wants to go deeper into any topics, we have lots of free time. We can organize some one-off sessions. So where do I start? Why adaptability? I feel like my whole life has been about adaptability. And it showed up in many different ways. Like imagine an intention so powerful, then you envision something, and then it just shows up in a matter of weeks or months. That's what happened for me in 2004 when I moved from Russia to the United States in 4 months after setting that intention. It was a random, not so random conversation that I had with my boss that he just walked me through a process of getting clear what I want. And for the first 3 times when he asked me that, I said, I don't know. And then he said, well, if I give you a magic wand and you just poof and it shows up, what do you want? I'm like, oh, I like that question. And I'm like, I want to be an analyst and I want to move to the United States. I was a developer at the time, I was writing code, and I realized I want to like working with people and I want to be outside of Russia. And that was July, but I said it out loud. In August, I went through my first training as an analyst inside the company. They just created a training for analysts inside the company just because. A month after I said that intention. Wow. And 3 months later, I was on my first business trip to Seattle. And that was my first real experience of adaptability. I mean, there's also childhood experience, but we'll leave those alone for now. And throughout my life in the United States, I learned that adaptability, it only really has 2 sides to it. It's either we learn how to proactively change ourselves to create what we want, or how to be very good at responding to the circumstances that knock us out so we can get back on the horse and keep creating what we want. How many of you get that? Yeah. So the better we get at both of those, the better we are at creating what we want. And about a year ago, I attracted to myself a company that actually measures adaptability and breaks down adaptability into 15 specific subdimensions. And there, what I found is all the research that ties adaptability to success in life. For example, the biggest investment firms, when they decide whether or not they want to invest in a startup, there's one trait they look for in founders, and it's not their smartness and it's not their emotional intelligence, it's their adaptability. Because they know shit's going to fly, things are going to go wrong, and the better person is at handling the changes, the more success any business have. Same goes for your own business. So if you want to be really good at launching your own business and going with the flow of figuring out marketing and, Google algorithms changing and, business partner, whatever that is, adaptability is a muscle and a trainable skill that you can measure and you can improve. And when I realized that, I realized my whole life has been about that. I just didn't put that in those terms. I would always set crazy goals like move to America or retire in 2 years, which I also did. And the process of creation and the process of understanding how creation works is one of the body work that I focus on. And then the process of managing my energy and my inner self balancing when shit goes wrong is another one. Because shit can go really wrong. Like I lived in Costa Rica and I invested in a project that I really, really believed in, and it went south. And I lost $1.2 million of the money that I borrowed from friends and family. And all the emotional baggage that came to it kind of brought me to my knees for a number of months. And it took me so long because that's how long it took me to get to the thought that led to the feeling of shame and guilt, that led to me being like debilitated, not being able to do anything. When I got to the thought, which was for me, I identified as my accomplishments. And I felt like when I create all these wonderful things, I'm awesome and amazing. And when I have nothing to my name, I'm worth nothing. And there's nothing I can give to anybody or to this world, and I should just much of those die. And there were times when, I would swim in the ocean and I would think of, what would it take if I just let go? And I would go with the rip currents. There was a moment. And in that moment, something in me said, no, it's just not now. And what I found through that experience is that resilience trains us and it prepares us for what's next. One of the beautiful speakers that I admire, Leila Hormozi, and she said is like, if you want to make $10 million, prepare to lose $1 million. And if you want to make 100,000, prepare to lose 10. So like the amount of your losses are proportionate to the amount of gains you're going to make. And that was my direct experience. Anytime I would lose money, I would make 10 times as much. So that experience alone, yes, I could just sit there and sob and like be very sad and guilty. Or I could say, okay, I lost $1 million. I'm on my way to make 10. And the biggest learning lessons of that one was to really find who am I without all this external shit. Can I love myself without giving anything to anybody? Can I feel like I'm worthy as I am without any extra contribution, just as I am? And that was tough. Because how many of you associate with your accomplishments and as the measure of your success, right? And we're trained that way. It's a very masculine way of measuring things. It's like you get to a certain level of status and you get to that thing, and it's normal. And, there are other ways. So today we're going to talk a little bit about adaptability as it is in the framework, but I want to dive deeper into what it actually does and how do you do it. So we can go really quickly through the model. If you want more, I can send you in-depth video to watch to your heart's content. But basically on the first page of the handouts that you got, yeah. Oh, I didn't give you. Perfect. I was wondering. Okay. Have you got it? Yeah, perfect. So adaptability, it has 3 dimensions. The first has to do with ability. Those are your skills that you can train and get better at in how you handle change. It starts with grit, which is your ability to persevere and keep going. Mental flexibility is your ability to handle multiple perspectives and keep your own perspectives while be able to step into somebody's shoes, whether it's your boss or your spouse or whoever, and being able to hold both and be okay with that. Mindset is your ability to change and adapt and think that a change is actually, lead you to where you want to go. Resilience is your ability to bounce back when something happens and you get stressed or you get your button pushed or, you just said yes to something you should have said no to and you spend a day doing something you hate, those kind of things. And unlearning is your ability to let go of the skills that served you so well but are not serving you in your next chapter and being able to learn new skills that will. So all of those skills, no matter which industry you're in, no matter what business you're doing or job you're doing, those are the skills that will help you excel and go through the ever-changing world. Character. Character is not necessarily trainable. It's more of the preferences about how you handle change. Emotional range is how reactive or collected you are. When something happens, do you just like have a fountain of emotion coming out of you and then it comes down? Or are you more handling it with logic and very even mind? It's just a preference. It's just like some people call it a personality trait. I think it's probably more changeable than most people think, but it is how we handle life. And some people are more emotional and some people are less emotional. And knowing about yourself, who you are, and also knowing about your team helps you manage it better. Because if you know that people are emotional, you expect it of them, you let them come down and off you go, right? So hope, we have a lot of people here who are experts on hope. And in this model, hope is really just your ability to believe that you're going to figure it out. That there will always be another way and the change is going to not going to be a horrible thing that happens to you. Like good things are going to come out of it. Your motivational style. Some people are motivated by big goals and big dreams and changing the world. And some people are motivated by fear of losing something. They're motivated by pain. They're motivated by an issue they can no longer avoid. So I call it also motivation towards something or motivation away from something. Neither of them is better or worse. They're both really good. Knowing where you are and where your teams are is helpful, because the managers who can both speak to people who want to do something awesome in an organization and to people who just have a fear of losing their jobs, they can create their communication to address both sides. Same goes for your marketing materials, same goes for your customers. So knowing that, people are either there or there, and some are in the middle. Some can be both. And thinking style is, how many of you are big picture thinkers? Like you're like high level, awesome details, don't talk to me. How many of you are small details? Like you can break things down and do action items? Yes. So some people are one or the other, and they're people who can switch. So knowing how you are, even in the communication around change or planning change, some people's like, I just need the North Star and one big thing for the day. I have friends like that. And some people is like, no, I need a checklist. Like, what exactly do I want to change? And who do I get to be? And how do I get to show up? And what's the practice that I'm going to implement? Like, you can adapt the way you handle change based on how you handle yourself in that aspect. And so that's the character. Those are the traits that are more or less stable, but I would not say they're not changeable. They're very changeable. It just takes longer. And then the environment part of adaptability is the contribution to adaptability from the environment itself. What is an environment? A company you work in. There's company policies. There are certain ways that the business is done. There are people who manage you or people that you manage. There are certain, HR hoops and loops you got to jump through or not. So how adaptable is the organization itself? How well do they embrace change, or are they more stable and it's really hard to move a needle? The adaptability of a startup is very different adaptability from Fortune 500 companies. It's by design, but it is a factor. And the aspects their company support is how people feel about companies giving a shit about them. Like, does the company itself care about their employees? Do the employees feel like they're cared for? That's the key indicator. The team support, I'm going to jump through that one, is it's more small. It's like your immediate team. Do you feel like your teammates got your back? Like if you mess up, are they going to hold it against you or are going to help you out? Like if you have an issue and you call them, can they back you up? So the team support is the environment where you feel like you can speak up, you can share something that's important to you, you can share when you have problems, when you need help. Do you feel safe enough to do that with your team? So that's the team support. And the more you feel safe, the more innovative you can be, the more adaptable you can be. So it's all connected. Emotional health is how much in your work, in your business, you feel the emotions of positive nature or a negative nature. Do you go to work and you just stress out all day long? Or do you go to work and you just everything is freaking amazing and there's just this one little thing? The more positive emotions you experience in what you do, it contributes to your adaptability from the environment standpoint. That's why I joke, because I like positive environments. So I go and I live on the beach and, I go to my ocean every day, and that's what fills me up with positive emotions. I set up my environment to influence me, not from a business company standpoint, but from the space I am in, to put myself in a certain emotional space. We know environments impact us. We might as well use it for the positive and not just for the negative. And the last one, but not least, is work stress. And this is not just how stressed you feel, but do you feel like you have so much on your plate, there's no way you can get through it? So the work stress is when you feel overwhelmed with the amount of tasks. So that's the adaptability framework. I gave you a couple of handouts, which you can look at your spare time. Those of you who have done the assessments, you may or may not need this. But here you can kind of do a self-assessment. So for each of them, it kind of have a description of what low grid looks like, what high grid looks like. So you can kind of see where you fall, even if you didn't take the assessments. And also gives you a little bit more characteristics of even if you did. So you can kind of dive deep into whatever the subdimensions that are of interest to you. And the last couple pages on this, I love this one, because this, what it does is it ties specific personal goals or organizational goals to what are the major three adaptability subdimensions that have the highest correlation to that goal. For example, if you want to accelerate your leadership development, in all the research that Adaptability company has done, is the thing that has the highest correlation with that is grit, hope, and mindset. And what they found is all the high-level leaders and VCs, they have very, very high levels of those three. So if you want to be a leader and you have low grit, you got to work on your grit, because it's really hard to be a good leader with low grit. Same goes for hope, same goes for mindset. So you can kind of explore, and one page that starts with career, wellness, and stress, those are actually more personal goals that people have. So if you have personal goals, if I just want to feel better and have less stress, or I want to actually be more employable, and it could be as if you're looking for a job, or you're looking for the next customer niche and grow your business, or you do your leadership development. And the next page, it's more about the organizational goals. And the beauty about adaptability, in case you want to bring it to your companies, is it can be measured on the team level. So the managers and the leaders can get a view of their whole team and see where people land, so they can plan their learning and developments, their trainings, their corporate retreats, to increase people's specific subdimensions of adaptability as it aligns to their team and company goals, whether it's increased engagements or performance or retention or whatever that is. You can find that logic, and that's what I help people do. So that's adaptability. And as you can see, part of it is proactive creation, part of it, resilience, I would say, and some emotional and mindset aspects have to do with reactivity and responsiveness to stress. Now, Luba, how are we doing on time? I want to make sure. Very good? Okay. So, 10 more minutes. Okay. So, 10 more minutes.
For now.
Okay. I'll wrap up with resilience and we'll leave the other one for later. So, yeah. Okay.
Only 10 minutes. Yeah, because we'll have other times.
Perfect. I'll leave the deeper purpose thing for later, because that will take way longer time. So, what is resilience? How would you define resilience?
The ability to adapt to any change.
Mm-hmm. What else?
To have setbacks and recover more quickly.
Yeah, beautiful. So resilience in the typical definition is you get knocked out by life, how do you get back together? And there's an organization called HeartMath Institute, and they have spent about 30 years studying the science of heart coherence and resilience, and the connection between how our heart beats and our ability to recover from stress or feel the stress in the first place. And their definition of resilience is not just to recover from, but also to prepare for. And they are looking at resilience as an energy battery. So it's not like something happened, you fall down, you need to get back up. No. How do you prepare yourself so that you can handle that fall with more grace, and then you can recover quickly, or maybe you're not even going to fall down because you have so much energy to reset in the moment. And what they found is our heart rate has a specific pattern that can be measured, and it's called heart rate variability. I'm going to shorten the science piece, but it basically, when our heart beats, it does not beat with equal distance between the heartbeats. It changes from beat to beat. So if it's 60 beats per minute, it's not 1 second, 1 second, 1 second. It's 1.1, 1.05. And if you plot that line of heart rate variability, it will show you whether your heart is called coherent or in balance or incoherent. And when it's in balance and coherent heart rate variability, it looks like a very smooth line. And when it's incoherent, aka you're stressed, it's going to be all sorts of chaotic. And what happens is coherence or incoherence correlates with how we feel. So when we feel what we call positive emotions, and they're called positive because they give us energy, joy, happiness, love, connection, acceptance, when we feel those feelings, our heart beats coherently. And when our heart is coherent, our brain is coherent. so we can think better, we can create more, we can collaborate, we can feel safe. All the performance improvement things happen. When we are experiencing any kind of negative emotions, could be big ones like anger and, maybe quieter of like resentment and sadness and guilt, all of those, they're called negative because they deplete our energy. And when they happen, our heart beats incoherently. And when that happens, our brain goes incoherent. We can't think straight, we can't collect our thoughts, we're staring in the screen and cannot do anything because our brain is elsewhere. All these things are very connected because our heart and our brain are in constant communication. And the better you can get at the skill of getting yourself to a coherent state, the better you can handle your rebalancing, but also charging your batteries. Because if through the day you're experiencing more positive emotions than negative, you can keep your battery charged and you can handle more. If you're getting more and more and more stress and less and less and less doing things that bring you joy, that very often leads to burnout. So finding things that bring you joy from the outside, whether it's hobbies or people that you love or time in nature, is important, but you can also cultivate it from within. So what I would like to do with you now is I will guide you through a process that's called quick coherence. And this process allows you to get, not that we're stressed right now, but you can bring it at the times when you're actually really stressed. And what this process allows you to do is in a matter of couple minutes, change your nervous system from being stressed to being relaxed. And that helps with all sorts of things, short-term and chronically long-term. So this process, you can do it with your eyes closed. I like to do it with my eyes closed when I can, when there's nothing going on. But you can also do it with your eyes open, sitting in a meeting, talking to your customers, whatever the heck you're doing. Like I've done it in team meetings many, many, many times. Closing the eyes adds the additional element of the meditative and slowing down the brainwave, so it helps with relaxation. So if you can, you're welcome to. You don't have to. So here, you don't need to write anything down. You can put away your papers. Relax. Close your eyes if you'd like to. And put your attention on the area of your heart. And imagine your breath is flowing in and out of your heart or chest area. Breathing a little slower and deeper than usual. You can do 5 in, 5 out, or find the rhythm that's comfortable for you. And now keep breathing like that, focusing on your heart. And now do your best to experience your regenerative emotions, whether it's appreciation or care or compassion for someone or something in your life. It could be somebody you care for, pet, loved one, special place, or yourself. When you're ready, open your eyes if you have it closed. Bring yourself to the present moment.
I don't want to open my eyes. Oh, this is good.
You can
Nap
stay.
time, everyone.
You can stay in the same state with your eyes open. That's a wonderful practice. So how are you guys feeling?
Very relaxed. This place, like when there's breeze and mosquitoes are not eating you.
Yes,
It's
magical.
It's magical. So Dina, I will ask you to do something if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
You can flip the couple of pages of the flip charts, get a marker, and actually like guide us through some visual. Not because we dragged all this shit here, but because I want to take a picture of you at the flip chart.
You want me to do like a summary of my talk or the heart math exercise or?
don't care. I want.
What was the purpose of the exercise?
I want you with a Sharpie in front of a flip chart. That's only.
Melina,
Oh,
what was
okay.
the purpose of the exercise?
Okay, so
I mean, it was nice to just close the eyes and do the breathing, but I want to.
yes, I'm going to share the science with
I'm a
you.
practical person. Sorry.
Yes.
You don't have to apologize. Okay, it's absolutely no apology necessary.
So what heart math has done is they have researched of what impacts our heart and what impacts our heartbeats and how our heart impacts our nervous system, impacts our health and our wellness. And what they found is there are two things that help people snap out of stress response to the balance with the maximum speed, so to speak. One is we all naturally do this. When we're stressed, what do? Right? You take a deep breath and you slow down your breath. Because when you slow down your breathing, what happens, it activates your parasympathetic nervous system. That is the opposite of sympathetic nervous system. So that's the rest and repair nervous system as opposed to like, let's outrun the lion nervous system. So by slowing down your breathing, what heart math research has shown is you already get to a certain level of coherence just by breathing slowly. That's it. And when we focus on our heart, our attention goes away from the mind to our, like a physical sensation. And the research from, well, what Dr. Joe has found is that when we are sensing, we're not thinking. So when you focus on sensation, you take the energy away from thoughts, which allows also to deal with the brain chatter. So slowing down the breathing and focusing on the heart allows you to get to a certain level of coherence. But what heart math has shown is like no matter how long you then keep breathing, you don't get past a certain level. Like you just stay on that level of wellness. But if you add a positive emotion and you amplify the emotional feel of the positive emotion, your coherence go way higher. And what it also happens is when you do this practice daily, just this practice, you do this daily and you spend 5 minutes a day for 6 weeks, what also their research has shown is that it changes the baseline of how you feel. And our baseline is like, what is our default that we get to? Are we a worried kind of person? Are we like chilled out, everything's going to work out kind of person? Like that emotional state, that's what is wired in our part of our brain called amygdala. That's your default. So you can go high and then you're going to get back to whatever level. You go low, you get back to that level. So training your coherence as a practice daily resets that level. So for people who have anxiety issues and stuff like that, like you do this for 5 minutes a day for 6 weeks, it changes your baseline to be more peaceful, more relaxed, more at ease. That's what they have measured, with medical research and all the proper measurements of that thing. So heart focused breathing, positive emotions, daily. Doesn't have to be an hour, could be 2 minutes, could be 5 minutes, but regularly it retrains your nervous system, it retrains your heart, and with that retrains your brain. So that's the science behind the practice, so that you know why you're doing it, so you're more hopefully. And I want to show you also what heart math has done is they create a device, actually 2 of them, I have both, that allows you to measure heart coherence real time. So one is called Inner Balance, and that one you attach to your ear, and then through Bluetooth it connects to your phone, and there's an app on your phone. Not only it can guide you through the process of what I just did with you, but it measures your coherence. So you can sit and you breathe and you can see, oh, my coherence is low in the red. Oh, now it got into the medium. Oh, it's high. Oh, higher, higher. And there's a number to it. Is it like 0.5 or is it 5 or is it 10? It's like, wow, like it's been a good practice, right? I use that device to see what kind of my wellness practices actually make a dent with my space, with my state. Like I measure myself during meditations. I measure myself when I used to live in the United States, like driving down the street and see if I can maintain coherence in the road conditions. Don't recommend to look at your phone when you do that. I also measured during meditation to see like which meditations make a big difference. I measured it during dancing, which was another practice we can talk about. And they also have another device that does the same thing, but this one attaches to your laptop. For me personally, I like the inner balance because it's always with me on the phone, on the go. But those of you, if you're practitioners and you work with people in person, the one that goes to your laptop, you can create multiple profiles and you can track different users and their history of practices separately. Because this one is just like you and your account and like it tracks.
In our thing.
Yeah. You can get. I put my digital business card there, so you can download the quick coherence meditation there. And once you do, you'll get emails with links to the device, links to like a more in-depth course from HeartMath that's like free for 90 minutes. They're giving you more science, more data, and all that kind of stuff. So you can get it all there. Yeah.
Question. So,
Mhm.
the Fitbit and the Health app, they measure heart rate variability. How accurate is it?
So I've attended a lecture from HeartMath that they went in depth, like what are the difference with all these devices. So some of them measure heart rate variability at certain intervals, like once an hour or whatever. Some people some average it out is like, here's the one you have like for the day. This one measures it real time so that you can see is like, oh, now it's this, now it's that. And also they just measure heart rate variability. This translated into a coherence score. So HeartMath created their proprietary algorithm to turn how well you're feeling based on your heart into a number so that you can track your progress, see your progress and stuff like that. Those are the devices. They don't tie to coherence. They just measure heart rate variability. But they do measure it. And like there's an Oura Ring, there's, like the Fitbit, there are Garmin devices. Yeah.
So I was thinking, for what you do with folks, I think it'd be essential because some people are so about numbers and they're so analytical that when you talk about the ways you truly feel people, some might not be open unless you actually have some numbers to show.
I usually just set my intention that even for those folks that if they're called to me, they're called to me. I try not to worry too much about all of that. I just have my intentions for my dream clients, and that's usually how
Something
I do
to
it.
explore, right?
Yes, but it is something to explore. I think that would be something beautiful, especially for like my military women that come to me that have a lot of logical where I'm just like, I'm not logical at all for the most part. I'm just like,
You're
whatever.
feeling feelings.
Yes. But yeah, that would probably be a really good way to measure progress too over a certain amount of time doing the practices for them. So then would I just recommend them to the link that you give me for
There's many ways you can do it. Like they can just get a device and do self practices. You can, through my links, you can get access to a free 90-minute course so they can just go and watch it. If there's a specific course that you want to create specifically for them, as I'm one of the trainers, so we can tailor create something and have them access to that. That's
Yeah.
specifically created to a target, group of people with specific interests.
that might be
So-
something that I may start requiring as a part of working with me, that they purchase a device and, so that they can measure. I mean, I don't want to have to say require because I'm not like a
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
person, but you know what
yeah,
I mean, suggest.
yeah. To me, when I think of I want to get better at resilience, I'm like, how do I know if I'm getting better or not?
Right.
I don't know. So this is the way to measure resilience and coherence that correlate very strongly through a bio data from your body. There's also the stress test from HeartMath that you can measure level of your stress based on symptoms and how you behave. It's answered questions kind of test. As part of adaptability assessments, you also measure resilience. So you can measure it through the data that comes from your brain and thinking and actions, or you can measure it biometrically, and you can do both. So whatever works. Yes, Christian.
I have a question.
Mhm.
If you don't mind. So
Of
how
course.
did you learn about all of these? Like, what were your, like your
Path.
search?
We'll have to see the path to where she got. We need like 2
It's like
weeks for that.
Now, I'll do a brief one. So I got into personal development because of a breakup. When I was breakup, yes. Like when I was living in Russia, and I could not get over a guy for 2 years, that pissed me off.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I have to be able to control my emotions. I don't like the fact that I cannot control my emotions. There must be a way. So I went to an emotional intelligence workshop in Russia, in Moscow. It was very hard to find in the 90s. Very hard. And that's when it started. I'm like, oh my God, our emotions come from our thoughts. And we're pissed off because we had some unrealistic expectations of reality. We just need to understand what were our expectations that did not get met. Were they actually realistic? And then, we change our thoughts, we change our feelings. That was my first introduction. Then I moved to the United States, and I got depressed because I reached my goal and I could not come up with another goal for a year.
It was not making you happy?
No. I became a project manager. I got a house. I got a car. I got the things. And I'm like, what's the next? I'm like, I don't know. I don't want more money. I don't want a new position. Like those things were not of interest. So I was looking for something. I couldn't find it. I watched The Secret. I read the book on law of attraction. I did all of those things. Didn't make a dent. And then there was a friend of mine that she said, you know what? I went to this transformation workshop in California that kind of changed my life. Maybe you want to check it out. I'm like, tried everything else. Might as well. So I went there. It was a 3-month kind of program. And that did transform my life because I really got to go through the deep work of healing all my past, mommy, daddy stuff, all the history, and really connecting to like what guides me, what fulfills me, and stepping in the perspective that I'm the creator of my life and not a victim of my life. And there's like different aspects, different trainings. There's Landmark, there's LifeSpring, there's all sorts of things that go along those lines. And that got me to the journey of like, what do you mean? I create everything? Like the amount of money in my bank is a reflection of my belief system? And the relationship I have or don't have is also the reflection of my belief system? So the only thing I need to control is me. And that was been my journey
So
since.
basically you are saying that you are what you believe, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and your life is the reflection of what you believe. So what I discovered, and I keep going for the last 15 years with that experiment, is like, is it really that I create everything? Because I don't know if it's true. It's just a perspective. But it gave me so much gold in my personal growth. I'm like, oh, I want to retire in 2 years. Can I do that? Sure. I want to create a certain relationship. Yeah, I have to become a person that's a match for that relationship. Mm-hmm. And if it's not showing up, something in me is not in alignment. So it's been this continuous growth of inner refinement, inner change that leads to the outer change. Yes.
I just found out that I'm on the right path.
Yeah!
All right.
So,
First day at my work right now.
uh-huh.
This is what I wrote on the table, on the board. I had a board in front of me, I told you, and a board on the side. And I was also going through so many things, divorce, my father's sick. I was right after the surgery. And that's what I wrote. It was like, you are what you believe, and you are just matching everything what I am experiencing and what I'm yet to experience. So
Yes. Oh, that's the blue monarch. Yes. Those are. It's gonna be back. It's just for her to see.
Yeah, you are transforming.
Yeah, and I just like want to wrap it up. It's like since then, that was the start of my journey. I know it was long, but then everything just came to me when I needed it. Like Dr. Joe Dispenza came into my life. I mean, not personally, but his work when I needed it. Like right after I lost my shit tons of money in Costa Rica and I was sitting in the darkest of my life. That's when I discovered his work. And, doing that work allowed me to go even deeper into myself and into the next version of myself. Through him came HeartMath, because he's doing a lot of work with HeartMath to measure the results of meditations on the biology. And then Adaptability came to me through one of Dr. Joe's trainers, and she called me up as like, there's a company that measures adaptability. I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, they're in London. I'm like, what? And then, because like Dr. Joe's trainings that I teach, they help people increase adaptability. They train on the neuroscience of change. So I'm like, we can train them and measure them. This is kind of match made in heaven. Let's do that. So it's all this connection of like inner and outer and all the tools. And there are some tools that, I discovered that allow you to rewire internal quickly. Because meditation sometimes takes time, but sometimes like, I'm freaking tired of that button that I have. It annoys the fuck out of me. Can I just clear it in an hour? Yes, you can. So like those things are available. They're all kind of
So
around, and they find.
where can we find those tools? Because I'm looking for so many tools.
Let's talk. I'm here.
So another thing, did you take? Were you one of the people that took adaptability test?
I have not.
I took. I have a question. about
Yes,
that,
please.
actually. I mean, it's not that specific now, but let's say we thought that it would be. I mean, the measurement is like it's on 900. Right? Like, at least by that. I was answering also the questions at the work, and since I had in past experience to work in the commercial part and now for government, it's completely two different environments. And I would say if I would be in commercial, I would answer this way. But now, if you're honest, because I'm here now, I will answer this way.
Yeah.
And it's also impacted results.
Yeah.
Probably, but looks like yes, I still prove myself. Yes, I'm optimistic about like a personality and resilient in this case, but in some cases, I'm not picking up. I'm not doing
Yes.
things. I mean, let's say that showed me at least
Where
good
the
behavior,
areas.
like what I
Yes.
the results. So, how? I mean, that number. I mean, I believe that everybody should be on the higher number. So adaptable, that would be the perfect number, or there are some situations that you should be not as adaptable.
Got it. So
I don't know.
being the high on all does not mean like you're the the best shit. No. I mean, it does help to have higher adaptability, because like the lower we are, the harder it is to deal with stresses of life and with creating change when we want it to. Like, it's just the fact. But there are some downsides of being really, really high on all. For example, somebody who has like high grit and they keep going and they keep going and they don't stop. Sometimes they have such high pain tolerance, they don't notice when they need to slow down.
Pain tolerance overall, just like physical pain.
Like pain tolerance, emotional pain tolerance, like, like some people, like I think I was pretty good at resilience, like I deal with stress like no tomorrow until, in November last year, like I cried on a call and I couldn't stop crying for an hour. Like, what the fuck just happened? And I realized I'm really good with overcoming, but me too, I have a limit. I still have to recharge, I still have to replenish. I cannot feel like I'm invincible. So there is a certain level of kind of like overconfidence sometimes we get that's not realistic if we get too high, and it usually comes from unrealistic expectations towards ourselves from the inside, which usually come from our father or mother. Like, we can go there, but so yeah.
First of all, you'll be on the hot seat. We'll have another session. We'll do a deep dive of your specific results. Second, Galina and I went through this exercise when I was here a week ago, where we were talking about different things, but one of the exercises was a deep dive into the mommy-daddy issues, if we want to call it that way. But just a lot of very deep questions about the childhood, and at the end, I already know what brings me the most joy and why I am not why, but just the fact that I'm fulfilled when all of you are here. But she tied my mommy, daddy, childhood crap to why I'm fulfilled by this, which to me was absolutely fascinating. It was very, very insightful. And as far as go, high adaptability, when Lena was going through cancer, I woke up one morning and I was covered with just shit, like skin issues, like horrible. And I never had skin issues. I always had like pretty good skin. And I called the doctor. The first question I was asked, anything stressful going on in your life?
Good doctor.
Actually, yes. That's a good doctor. I mean, she still gave me a cream to put on. But at least she asked, how are you? But anyway, thank you. This was awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.